Hello and welcome to Union Insider, your one-stop shop for all things Philadelphia Union. I'm your host, Sage Hurley. Here's what we have coming up for you on tonight's show. You'll hear from defender Jeff Larson on what he knew about his new team before putting pen to paper, and which former Union player he spoke with ahead of time. Plus, Meg Kane joins me to discuss her role in securing Philadelphia the opportunity to host the World Cup this summer, and how preparations are going ahead of soccer's showpiece event. And later, Sebastien Le Toux and I will discuss how the team can start to build momentum as they remain in search of their first league win this season. It's true, the hits just keep on coming for the boys in blue. This past weekend felt especially cruel. Right after Danley Jean-Jacques equalized, Wilfried Zaha scored 2 minutes later to secure the result. Now the Union look to turn the page with another road match this Saturday, heading to Montreal for an early 2:30 p.m. start. I caught up with two players after training this week. Here's what they had to say about their prep for this weekend's outing.
Yeah, we talked about coming in these next two games, Montreal and DC. They're two very winnable games, and I think every game's winnable. We just got to go into it with the right mentality. We faced them in preseason, so we know a little bit about them, and we look forward to it. And we can't wait to get this first win, hopefully on the weekend.
We just need to be resilient, to keep going, and to also know that we are doing some things wrong. I think that we are all the weeks trying to think about new ways to motivate us. Actually, this week it's been different. We had a long talk to each other in the locker room, and I think if you see the trainings, they are even better this week, and we just need to keep going, bring the energy again, and go to Montreal believing that we're going to win.
Switching gears, Jeff Larson, better known as Jeff around these parts, made the move to Philadelphia this offseason following a successful spell as a captain at SK Brann, ultimately leading the Norwegian club to the Europa League. Jeff joined us on The Dupe to explain what he did and didn't know about the club before signing and more. What did you know about the Philadelphia Union before you signed here?
Quite a few things. I talked to Mika before he left in December. Just about the team, the city, how people are, and the way you do stuff here. Just some small things. Obviously, I tried to look at the internet as well to find out what the stadium looks like and the facilities as well. But it's always different being here in person rather than watching it on online.
Was it some sort of level of comfort hearing about this club from someone from your country?
Yeah, for sure. It helped a lot. He has been here a while. Know the clubs really well. Been a big profile here as well. So it's really helpful for me to get the chance to talk to him. But as I said, it's always different experience in the first hand. But it helped me a lot. As a new player, you want to know a bit about the club, the city where people live and how life is. Obviously, it's a big step or a big move coming from Europe over here, so it's calming as well, knowing another Danish guy has been through here and done really well.
So how did this move to the Philadelphia Union come to be?
It's been a longer process, I'll say it like that. We started talking last summer, but I was in the middle of the season with my old club and wanted to finish off the season there. We've just qualified for Europa League, which was quite big for the club, and was doing all right in the league. So I felt, obligated to finish there and help them out. And then we started talking again in December. But I kept following the team during the months where I wasn't here, and saw how well they were doing. So it's quite fun following them for distance, and I might be able to come.
This is always like the most interesting question that you ask, in my opinion, because coming from Europe, coming from Denmark, it's not like American sports where you've got your options that are the NFL, the 32 teams that you could go to. There's so many options across the world that you could go to. Why MLS? Why Philadelphia?
I had some really good chats with the sporting directors and Bradley about the way they see the game, the way they develop players and look at each individual. Had good plans for me as a player. I thought they knew me really well going into that meeting with them, and I felt, safe joining the club. I felt this is a great environment to be in as a player. the way the club has been performing the last year as well is amazing as well. So made it all easier.
We're back in a minute, but before we break, here's this week's trivia question presented by United Concordia. Team captain Alejandro Bedoya's next goal will be his 26th in MLS play, giving him sole position of 7th place on the team's all-time scoring chart. Who are the players he's currently tied with? The answer comes later in the show. Union Insider is back after this. Welcome back. I had the privilege this week of speaking with the person perhaps most responsible for bringing the 2026 FIFA World Cup to Philadelphia. Meg Kane spearheaded the city's bid, and we'll see all her work come to fruition this summer. Here's our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Meg, to start, can you give our audience a little bit of background about your role in bringing the FIFA World Cup to Philly this summer?
So I've been working on this adventure since 2019. I joined the group that was organizing our bid after the United bid had been awarded to the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and when the U.S. cities started to have to be competitive with one another. And so it was supposed to be a 9-month project that started in January of 2020, and all of the host cities were supposed to be selected no later than December 31st of 2020. Obviously, global pandemic, some things happened in between, and we spent the next almost 3 years in bidding. And so it's really exciting now, and very hard to believe that we're 64 days from opening match when you start a journey back in 2019-20 to see this vision come to life, and now it's almost here. So I have been part of the bid team, and then after we were awarded a host city role, I became the host city executive CEO for Philadelphia Soccer 2026, which is our local organizing committee that works with the city, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Union, and all of our key tourism and hospitality partners to make this dream become a reality.
Well, congratulations first on all you've accomplished so far, but I want to take you back to that moment amongst the masses at Love Park when the bid was announced for Philadelphia. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was relief. I think when you make a decision, we didn't have an opportunity to ever do anything with really large crowds or to bring people together. So it was a high risk, high reward moment, right? We're going to find out on live television whether or not we're selected. We are competing against all of the major Northeast cities, including the nation's capital. That New York, New Jersey is in, that we know that that's going to happen. So at that point, you're really competing for 2 spots on the East Coast. And it was nerve-wracking, certainly. But I think all of our bidding team felt really confident about the bid that we had put forward. It was a really outstanding bid. And I think that we introduced a Philadelphia that FIFA not only didn't know, but didn't expect, and really made a compelling argument. So I would say that before I could feel the excitement of the moment, I think there was just a bit of sheer relief. When you work on something for almost 3 years, it's hard to believe that part of the journey ends, and then this next part is beginning. I would also say that I had the pleasure of standing near Mayor Jim Kenney, and I was really relieved because I know he was really relieved as we were standing in the middle of 3,500 people at Love Park watching this on TV, and especially because they had announced Boston right before us. And I think, I have a great video on my phone that someone sent me of the crowd. And it's like they announced Boston and everyone's like, oh, like this, are we going to lose? And then they announced Philadelphia next. So that was, I think, a really great moment. It's always fun to go back and think about that.
What a moment. The World Cup is often regarded as a time of cultural exchange. It's competition and celebration between fans of the beautiful game from around the world. What do you think that could look like in our city?
So Philadelphia is such a diverse place already, right? We have this wonderful tradition of immigration that has been the source of our, if you will, neighborhood pride for hundreds of years, dating back to the mid-1800s with European immigration, and then the waves of how immigration has changed in the city and has really evolved, our demographic and population with the Caribbean, Africa, South America, Mexico, all really, growing, in addition to having an immigration pattern that's rooted in European, the migration in that time frame. So when you think about soccer and the worldwide growth of the game, Philadelphia's population is very much reflective of how the game has grown. And I think that's such a unique thing to our city. So when I think about the cross-cultural exchange, right, one, I think we're going to see so many of the teams and their fans who are coming to visit, whether it's France or Haiti, Curacao, a first-time qualifying nation, whether Ghana. As we know, there's a strong Ghanaian population along the East Coast, including in Philadelphia. But then you have Croatia and, of course, Brazil. We have the Ivory Coast that's going to be, using Subaru Park as its home away from home. I think you're going to see this outpouring of fans that are going to reflect both that international, component, but also the diaspora in the United States. And so I think those traditions and that national pride is going to shine through. But what I think is going to be so cool about this for the region is, as you well know, we love a rooting interest, right? And that was at the core of why we launched the How Do You Fan campaign, because for us, we wanted people to feel like they could pick a rooting interest. Yes, we're all going to root for the U.S. men's national team, but the World Cup is different because people oftentimes have a secondary team based upon where their family is from and who they root for. And so we wanted to introduce all the teams because there might be great players you want to follow. They could just be an amazing fan base, i.e. Brazil. They could just be, you could be a fan of Kylian Mbappe and want to just follow what is happening with France. But you might also, love Danley Jean-Jacques from the Union and decide Haiti's your team. So when I think about, how this is going to come to life, I think there's just going to be this kind of outpouring and celebration. And when you give people 39 days to party around a sport that many are curious about, I think that is really where the growth and the interest is just going to skyrocket because we're hosting the World Cup.
You mentioned Danley Jean-Jacques and Haiti. There's a very special for club and country moment in the making. Philadelphia Union's own Danley Jean-Jacques will be representing Haiti here in Philadelphia, playing in this host city. How special is it to have a player from the local Major League Soccer club playing in Philadelphia during the World Cup?
It's extraordinary. I mean, it's such a moving moment, right? Because it does marry that local flavor and someone who understands Philadelphia and its fan base and its tradition, but also elevates and celebrates their national heritage and pride. So for us, we couldn't have been more delighted to see Haiti come, and specifically to play a night game against Brazil, which will be, I think, just a highlight of the tournament. I think we're also all excited to see who is going to be on the U.S. men's national team. This U.S. men's national team is certainly going to have what I like to call a Philadelphia Union flavor, given the academy, given all of the team members that have local ties to the Philadelphia Union, to the training complex down in Chester, to the coaching staff. That is amazing, right? And so I think you're going to see a very Philadelphia and a very Pennsylvania flavor to this tournament through the U.S. men's national team, but then also through other players who will be representing their nation, and specifically Danley Jean-Jacques, who we're so excited to see play here.
I couldn't agree more. And there's a lot of action coming our way. This might be a tough question, but what are you most excited for?
I love that question, actually. It's not, for me, I think there's a lot to be excited about. But I believe that the FIFA Fan Festival at Lemon Hill is going to be just an incredible moment. It is soccer Coachella. And when I talk about it, I love the fact that it is a 39-day festival that is centered around this celebration of sport that is open to all. It's free to enter. And I think that for people in the Philadelphia region, they've never necessarily experienced the FIFA Fan Festival. And I think that outpouring, that celebration, that joy, the watch party is there, but there's so much more to do. There's soccer, there's going to be major soccer activations. There's going to be, terrific activations from enormous brands that are partners with FIFA. We're excited about our own family-friendly zone. There's going to be an entire food truck roundup. So you're getting your Philly flavor, whatever that is. And it's not just cheesesteaks and water ice, but don't worry, we will have those too. But making sure that we are bringing forth the best that Philadelphia has to offer the world. We're working right now, and this is today, April 9th is the last day, but we will be, we're having community talent calls, allowing people to be part of, performances at the fan festival, a vendor village. So all of that is a way to make sure that Philadelphia and our culture is on full display for the world and for all the visitors that are coming here. So for me, the FIFA Fan Festival is what I'm most excited about. I'm certainly, that is no disrespect to the matches themselves, which will be amazing, but I think allowing people, residents and visitors alike, to share in a World Cup experience is really important. And that's something that we're really looking forward to delivering.
I can't wait to check it out. And Meg, it's been a busy couple of years for you from everything you've shared today. Once we're clear of this, what's next?
A nap, probably, maybe a vacation. But in full transparency, I actually am the president and CEO of a public relations agency in Philadelphia called Signature 57. So I have had a very patient and wonderful team that has continued to work while allowing me the privilege to serve in this role for the Philadelphia Soccer 2026 Board of Directors. And so I will be returning to that role with full focus and full effort after the conclusion of the tournament, which I'm excited to do. But I certainly am going to fit a nap in after. I think after a six year run, there's going to be a long afternoon nap is in my future.
Very well deserved. Meg, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to see all of this unfold in just a couple of weeks here. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'd love to have you out to FanFest. Come and visit, and you can do a live show. That'd be great.
Absolutely, I would love to.
Perfect. That sounds terrific.
We've got another stoppage in play. When we return, Sebastien Le Toux joins me on set to discuss tomorrow's matchup in Montreal. That and more when Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross, returns. Back with this week's Union Update, presented by Torque. The team announced this week that defender Nathan Harriel has signed a contract extension through the 2028-29 season with a club option for the following year. Harriel has been one of the team's best and most consistent players on the pitch as of late, also emerging as a leader in the locker room. Back here on set with Sebastien Le Toux, I want to drill down on this next two-game stretch for the club because it could be a great way to build some much-needed momentum. The team will take on Montreal and DC United, two teams who have combined for 3 wins total this season. Could this be a turning point?
It could be, and he has to be, just because we are 0-6 right now, and you play Montreal and DC. We are just above you in the standing, just 1 win for Montreal this year, but they are playing their home opener on Saturday against the Union. So it's going to be a different energy as well at Saputo Stadium. You all know when you play, your home opener, you have an extra motivation, for the player of Montreal. So it's going to be a tough task, but they can do it because I think the level of Montreal is not as high as other MLS team, in the East. So they need, to go out there and try to get the 3 points.
Looking at this weekend, if you had to pick between scoring a couple or keeping a clean sheet, which do you think Bradley Carnell would choose?
It's a good question. I'm an offensive player. I just want to score goals and more goals than the opposing team. So I will say, score more goals. I think, when you look at the last game against Charlotte, it was 2 different halves. One half we didn't create anything on the first half, and the second half we had, more momentum, more the ball, in the half of the opponent, and we were able to, create more chances. We just got 1 goal out of it, but it was much better offensively. So I would like to, see more of the second half in Charlotte, the entire game in Montreal, and hopefully we can score 1 more goal than the other team.
That being said, who are you looking at in terms of someone who could spark the offense against what is a very fragile Montreal backline?
I mean, I'm going to go with the goal scorer, Jean-Jacques Denley. I hope, he'll be back, starting 11. I know he was, working with a little injury this week, but if he's here, I think he's kind of the motor of this team. I think with his experience and the fact that he's going to play the World Cup and, he's running everywhere. And you saw him, playing on the more, right side as a number 10 at the end of the game. He was number 6. He finished in the box and he scored. I want to see more of his energy in the entire field, and then kind of be contagious to his teammate to do the same thing, to be able to score more goals.
Seba, we've got a Saturday matinee this weekend. Do players like playing at 2:30 p.m.? Is there anything extra good or bad about it?
It's a bit different. It's definitely a different, let's say, type of thing you have to do in the morning when you prep for the game, depending on when you play at 7:30 p.m., like 2:30. It's going to be early wake up. It's away from home. You are, thinking that, okay, should I want to eat a little bit, more for breakfast and less, for early lunch? Guys are going to wake up probably earlier as well than they were sleeping, when the game is at 7:30. So it's different, that's for sure, but it's for both teams. I don't think Montreal play any game too early this season, so it's going to go for both teams. And the thing is, there is not time difference as well. If it was a 2:30 p.m. game, let's say on the West Coast, it might change a little bit, but it's on the same time than Philadelphia. So I think both teams, have the same, let's say, equilibrium on who is going to have a more advantage to play at that time.
Just like that, it's time for Keys to the Game presented by Subaru. Seba, what's your first key to a win against Montreal this weekend?
It will be, start strong and, score first. It's very important, I think, for the Union to be, up 1-0 and not trailing, after the score. We all know that we are much better when we are up 1-0 and you are able to, make some defensive play to keep the result like we did last season. It's been, too many times we were trailing and, have to come back into the game after giving up a goal. So can we, be strong and start, strong as well, not maybe waiting, for the pressure of Montreal who is going to come, because they are playing at home and they're going to try, to start the game very, strong as well. But can we hit them, quickly on a breakaway and maybe, a transition and score from that? It's something that I'm looking for Saturday. And the second one is something, again, we have been seeing a lot, in the beginning of this season with all the losses. It's like the mentality of this team. Can they stay positive for an entire game and not, maybe for 20 minutes and then when something negative happens or a goal happens against them, they change completely their mind and they are, yelling at each other, waving arms, and not, being focused on what they have to do at their own position. I want to see, some more positivity from the entire team, from the bench, from the, coaching staff as well, to stay together and get a result. Because when you are in this situation, usually the first win, it's kind of a grind, and they need to grind this weekend to get 3 points in Montreal.
One more hydration break to sneak in. We'll wrap up with the final whistle on the other side. You're watching Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross. We're back with the answer to this week's trivia question, presented by United Concordia. Earlier we asked you, Alejandro Bedoya's next goal will be his 26th in MLS, giving him sole position of 7th place on the team's all-time scoring chart. Who are the players he's currently tied with? The answer, Corey Burke and Jack McInerney. Time for this week's final whistle discussion, presented by Allstate. For this week's topic, if you were picking it, who's in your starting 11 against Montreal?
Well, it's a good question, knowing that everybody's asking me this question as well as friends. But it's tough, when you don't win a game, you are not sure, who you want to start. But I will stick, with the experience of the team and the player, who I think started a lot against Charlotte. I will keep the same defense: Andre in a goal, right back Nathan, left back Westfield, Seri, and Macania in the center back position. I will switch a little bit to the center midfield. I will put Bueno back in, I think, with Lukic, because I think we need more a bit defensive, part, especially when we are away. I like, how Denley play on the right side as a number 10, who can come inside, maybe take sometimes the position as a center midfielder as well, and be more defensive. Keep Ilowski on the left and keep Alado and Bruno Damiani as a forward. I think he's the strongest starting 11 as of now. It could change, and I think we have some player on the bench who can make something special happen if we need, and it's what we saw against Charlotte. So I will use a sub as soon as we can to make sure we still have a lot of energy in this game and we get the 3 points.
We'll see who Carnell goes with when that lineup comes out tomorrow morning, but that'll do it for this edition of Union Insider. One final reminder, the Union are north of the border this weekend with an early kickoff against CF Montreal on Apple TV, with coverage starting at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That's all from us this week. For Sebastien Le Toux and our entire crew, thanks for spending some time on your Friday night with us. We'll see you next week.